and welcome to the Olivet Discourses with Pastor John E. Coleman. The Olivet Discourses is a program dedicated to the practical application of biblical principles in the lives of believers. I challenge you, the viewer, for the next 30 minutes to follow us on a journey through God's Word. And at the end of this program, you will know why Olivet is the biblical alternative.
Hello, I'm Pastor John Coleman of the Olivet Baptist Church, and welcome to another session of the Olivet Discourses, Equipping Marriages, Part 8. The last of our sessions. This is the 8th session of Equipping Marriages, and today we're concluding our study, our talk on sexual development within interpersonal relationships. And what a joy it has been to discuss this. Now let me say this before we get into this last study. I know that this aspect of the study has been very difficult for some of you. It's been difficult because it's difficult for us to discuss our sexual behavior within a marriage relationship. And since it is difficult to discuss those kind of situations, I'm going to ask you to not continue to look at this particular series if it is going to cause you problems, even with me as a pastor. Because, see, some people don't think that pastors should be, should even be discussing these particular kind of situations. But listen, pastors are sexual creatures too. We're married, we have wives, we have children. No stork brought the babies. We know how it got there. I want to grow you up. I want to equip your marriage, and so that your marriage will have some kind of way to continue to go on. Now, we were speaking about some things, and we're going to continue to do that right now. We were asking some questions. And some of the questions that we asked, let me go back. The first question we said is that having sexual intercourse is often called making love. But for some, making love means something quite different from physical love. In other words, we asked the question, how does physical intercourse relate to making love? Now, if you want to answer those questions, go ahead and answer them. Number 2, we asked, is intercourse purely for fun? We tried to answer that. And then the third question we asked is, do you only view it as an activity of experience for the husband? That's where we left off. Are we to view sexual intercourse as only an experience for the husband? You answer that yourself. Let's come into the fourth question. Is the act to be enjoyed as an end in itself? Is the act of intercourse or sex within marriage to be enjoyed as an end within itself? In other words, if you're just doing it for the purpose of doing it, and there's no doing it to fulfill the other person, there's no doing it to complement the other person. There's a good term. Complement. Sex should always be complementary. It complements the other person. If sex never complements the other person, then it's done selfishly. Then it's done with the foulest of intent. But you have to ask that, listen, is it just to be done because it's to be done? Is it just to be experienced because it's there to be experienced? My friends, that's what most of our relationships have come down to. It's come down to the point, I do it because I'm supposed to do it. There's no reason. There's no thought behind it. I just do it. And my friends, if it's that kind of a situation with you, sex will always become a tragedy in your life. So let's ask another question. Let's ask another question. No, let's stop asking the questions there. That was the 5th and final one in this particular series. The way that you define sexual intercourse will influence your expectations and actual experience of sex. The way you define it will influence your expectations. If it's not fun for you, the next time your partner says, come on, listen, it's going to influence the way you view your partner. It's going to influence the way you view your life. It's going to influence the way the next day is going to be. And let me share this with you. Having good sex the night before doesn't make the problems of the next day go away. You still have to deal with those things. Oh, Pastor John, I can't believe I heard you say that. Why not? What kind of a world do you live in? My friends, I don't want to enter into your bedrooms. And let me share this with you. I don't have to. I know what goes on in there. I can tell what goes on in your bedroom by seeing what goes on in this room of worship. When certain husbands and wives come to church, supposedly hand in hand. Have you ever seen them come to church? He's sitting on one end of the car. She's sitting on the other end of the car. They don't even communicate with each other in church. She's walking around with her nose 50 inches up in the air, and he's walking around whispering to the other brother in the church about what she is not. I'm telling you, you've got to know that. So let's take the latter part of this study, and let's go through the alphabet, and let's fill in some things here. And I hope that we can get all this in on the screen. We're going to do our best in editing to put all this on the screen for you. What does sexual intercourse mean to you? I want you to get a piece of paper, and I want you to start filling it in. That's right, just get a piece of paper. What does sexual intercourse mean to you? You need to write it down, and you need to share that with your spouse. Don't tell me, because you're just talking to a television tube, and I'm not real. I'm just on a piece of tape. What does sexual intercourse mean to you? Write it down. Write it down. Don't be afraid to address the issue. What does sexual intercourse mean to you? That's A. All right. B. Here's statement number B. What words describe your own experience, whether you're a virgin or not? It doesn't make any difference whether you're a virgin or not. What words describe your own experience? Play, mystery, work, love, scary, pleasant, frustrating, satisfying, or any other, and then try to tell us why. And not try to tell us, but try to tell your spouse why. In other words, if your sexual experience is mystery, love, if it's scary, if it's pleasant, frustrating, satisfying, or any other, put it down, tell your spouse, tell your mate what it is. Even if you're thinking about getting married and you've had sex outside of marriage and you nor your husband or your wife are no longer virgins, even if one is a virgin, explain what your sexual experience has been even with other persons. That is going to be very difficult because your spouse or your prospective spouse might ask you to get very personal and very intimate and share with you who the person was. If the person is more determined to find out who the person is or was, I would not share any of that with them. Now, why did I say that? Because it's not important for you sitting out there to know everybody that I've gone to bed with. It's none of your business. How about my wives? Why would she want to know? When in sin, I did what sinners do. But all of that has been washed by the blood. Well, I want to know, is anything going to come up after that? Don't even worry about that. Why is your mind in the gutter? I would hope not. I would hope not. C. Number C. Do you usually feel ready for intercourse when you have it? Now, you have to mark down yes or no on that. Do you usually feel ready for intercourse when you have it? Nothing else needs to be said. You know whether you're ready. You know whether you're not. D. A, B, C, D. Do you feel that your spouse is sensitive to you when your needs differ from his or hers? Is your spouse sensitive when you want them to do what they don't necessarily need you to do them, you need them to do that to you? Are they sensitive to that? Are they willing to get into that? Answer the question. Answer the question. Turn to your spouse and tell them right now, you're not sensitive to me. When I want you to hold me longer, when I want you to kiss me longer, you're not sensitive to me. We're trying to equip your relationship, friend. I'm not trying to get into your business. I don't see through the tube and see what's in your heart. God knows it. But you might be saying, Pastor John, you're hitting right on it. I'm human. I'm there. I've been there. You're there. And it's going to stay that way until God makes it right through you getting right. Let's come on down to the next one. E. What would you like your spouse to do to make the relationship more enjoyable? Tell them or write it down. What do you want them to do that's going to make the relationship more enjoyable for you? I'm not telling him that. Why not? You're going to be miserable for the rest of your life. Men, what do you want her to do? Now, I said no pornography. No pornography. No, man. No, don't you ever degrade your woman. No, lady, don't you ever degrade your man like that. Don't you ever ask them to do something that you know in their hearts that they cannot find it to do. I'm not saying that. And don't you ever quote me as saying that. I would